Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I, man, here from the Block Runner MetaZone in Rovi, and today we're going to talk about parcel protocols.
Standards, protocols, frameworks, whatever you want to call them. But clearly, we're going to need those, dude. We're already, so we knew this was coming, right? This day was going to hit us in the face like a brick at some point. We didn't think it would happen this quick, like that we would mint out or inscribe out all of the existing blocks.
By the time you're watching this video, which is probably Friday,
I'm pretty sure
it's minted out. Yeah, the blockout has occurred.
Yeah.
It's time to block party, dude.
That's right, dude. That's what this weekend's all about, dude. It's going to be one hell of a block party.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to do it's actually a significant thing that's happened over the last like few weeks or a couple of weeks, whatever.
Yeah, we've never seen anything like this in crypto.
I would have to agree. So I think that's anybody who participated was pre-blockout.
Yeah.
That is forever embedded into the Bitcoin block data. So you can always, as long as you harbor that proof.
Yeah, the private key, you don't lose that private key.
Correct. Like then you're always going to be regarded as, pre-blockout, pioneer of Bitcoin's metaverse, all these good, accolades.
Yeah, we have as many holders, almost as many holders as the other side.
Which, if you don't know what that is, it is, I'm sure everybody's heard of the Bored Apes, right? Yuga Labs. This is like the behemoth of the entity on the Ethereum side of things that kind of drove the NFT mania. Yeah. Right. And capitalized bigly, attracted all these big name celebrities to that ecosystem, got them to buy apes for whatever reason, and turned the whole damn thing into a multi-billion-dollar ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And now they're building a metaverse.
Yeah.
Called the other side.
That's right.
And, they minted out, I think, 100,000.
It was 55,000.
Little land chunks,
lands,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel? We also built MetaZone, the first app store for the metaverse. Buy, sell, and explore a new class of digital assets like our flagship game Rovi.ai. Support us by collecting your digital assets through MetaZone at metazone.io. Like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated. All right, back to the video.
And they generated like $500 million or something like that selling that.
That's right.
It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
And BITMAP is basically neck and neck with those guys.
Yeah. Could you believe that?
So I might as well just say like the market cap right now is like 500 million. It should be. We might as well, dude.
Yeah.
Well, what we could build here is going to be way cooler, in my opinion.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. But not to totally shit on them because they're actually... And Probable and M Squared are doing some good things over there.
Yeah, they're definitely leaders over there.
100%.
Yeah, so what we want to talk about today is the different proposals for the inscription process of a parcel. And we've seen one called Bliss. We're going to talk about this other one called BitPlot, which is not a direct proposal for parcel standard, but it's something interesting to kind of look at. So the protocol for Bliss stands for Bitmap Lot Inscription Standard, and it's from Haste Games, right?
Haste Arcade.
There you go.
If you've been paying attention to Twitter, about a week ago, I'd say, they announced to the world, hey, we're doing like the first land sale on Bitmap. Yeah. And they built like a nice little interface on their website for that, and they were taking in, money. Yeah. The first real attempt at like a project, like a launch.
Yeah, along them with IMSO Chris also doing some sort of...
True, that's correct. Yeah, they both started around roughly the same time.
I think Chris is doing more like content sale rather than like a land sale.
Well, he's doing land sale too.
Okay, well, something like that.
Right, so they're both, so the point is like this market is obviously, it's being proven. Like there's demand. People want to inscribe the parcels that are contained within the blocks that they own. That's represented by the transaction squares, right? That is what the Bitmap is, right? That's our shared understanding of this model. So, how do we do that in a standard approach where like everybody can kind of like, follow these guidelines? Because that's important,
Yeah, 100%. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Bliss and BitPlot, and then we'll give our opinion just to throw our 2 cents out there. And so let's kind of look through what we have here. So I want to go from the beginning, and I want to say generate unique and secure identifiers for fractionalized lots of land in the Bitmap metaverse. So their protocol consists of a lot ID. So what they want to do is pass a secret through this hash generator, and use the VByte size and project name as all the parts of this function that they want to build.
Okay.
And it looks like this. The VByte size label, project name, and .lot extension are appended to to form the final lot, which would be a shortened piece here, a VByte size, the size label, and your project name.
Yeah.
And
lot.
.lot, correct.
Yeah.
And so this inscription process that they are proposing or probably leveraging at the moment, and here's some example code of like how to execute this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was pretty smart, the way that they have set it up. And one of the things that you learn pretty quickly building on Bitcoin is that you end up realizing you got to depend on indexers in order for all this to really work. That's why a lot of people use unisat.io in order to find districts that are open. You go ahead and inscribe them. They're an indexer. They're doing it centralized. But it seems to be the quickest, the most reliable at the moment.
Yeah.
And relying on an indexer that's centralized has some trade-offs, right? You're gaining the speed, but you're losing the decentralization, the trust, all that stuff.
Correct. And we've seen examples of that where like I don't know, Unisat will go down for maintenance or something, or maybe like an exploit might happen, who knows. Then everything that's relying on that, provision of data
disappears.
Just they all get, tandem fucked.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
But if you have a nice distributed ecosystem, where you can mitigate that risk of downtime, then that's obviously ideal, right?
And if you read through here, it says the combined string is hashed into a SHA-256 algorithm, which is what Bitcoin uses, right? The hash is encoded into encoded hash using the base 58 encoding system. So think of encoding as a way to reduce the size of your output into something smaller. And so it's just a process that it's an algorithm you come up with to make things smaller.
It's like Bitly.
Kind of like that. It's like that, but just a little bit different. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the whole motivation here for encoding is just reduce the size of the inscription, because the bigger the inscription, the more it costs.
Correct. The bigger the file size, right?
Yeah.
Or
And the size label, so they have 4 different types of sizes: estate, large, medium, and small. And so all this is part of the inscription of the lot.
Right. So, if you go through all this documentation writing, I couldn't really find like anything in here that's like a proclamation that this should be like how everybody does it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's just one way that it can be done, right? And it is a very clever way to utilize as much of the information that we can get from like, an individual bitmap and all the details within it. Yeah. To generate something as like an architecture like framework to actually render something, right? Yeah. Or like have like almost like in the same sense as like there's laws in physics, right? Like that everything in our reality has to abide by. Nobody, obviously no humans set these laws, but they've existed. We've discovered them over time.
That's right.
And then we build with them with these laws of physics. So this is a good like little attempt at doing like creating the first laws of like a virtual universe, right? By this VByte size thing. It's like now everybody who's constructing alongside this standard has like, a law to abide by, a guideline, like as far as what's the spatial parameter of everything, right? Yeah. So it's pretty cool. But I guess at the end of this, we'll talk about why this shouldn't be like the de facto
law, the law of physics, right?
Of the entire thing, right?
Yeah, and just to quickly show you an example output, you have like the encoded hash here, right? The short. And what this does, it basically confirms that only the person who knows the password to this is the one who generated. So if you own a district and you generate this password and you run it through this algorithm, you're the only one that could have generated this item here. So that it's sort of like a security component, which
that's very important, right?
I think it's pretty important. Yeah. And so here, 187 is the ID. It's a small one, and here's the name of the project, right? Okay. .lot. Yeah. Okay, so pretty straightforward, pretty simple. With this, now they are able to
conduct the land sale, which they are doing. You go to hastearcade.com. You could see like their interface where I think it's .com, maybe not, just hastearcade something. I'm sure you could find them. There they are.
hastearcade.com.
I don't know if it's on their front page or not. Maybe. Oh, Ghibli. There might be like a whole separate like link to get there. Is there like a metaverse thing anywhere?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll probably put the link in the description.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to get your spectacles on what like a BITMAP land offering looks like. It's they have, just like in accordance with the standard that they've developed, the Bliss protocol.
Right.
They have 4 different parcel offerings, available.
Yeah.
You can either choose to purchase an estate, a large, medium, and small, I think, sized piece of land on the bitmap that they are distributing it from.
Right.
Are you still looking for it?
Yeah, here it is.
Okay, we found
app.hastearcade. Here we go. So here are the different sizes: estate, large lots, medium, and small. And they're based on the virtual bytes. And the virtual bytes represent the actual square footage or square meters of that land. So really interesting kind of setup here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about hastearcade, and we're kind of go over. Here's Bitmap, and we were trying to do our research on just standards across the board, and we came across the ERC 721 standard, which we read way back in the day.
Yeah.
And at the time, we obviously didn't know a lot, because when we were discovering NFTs, like, it was still a new thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And in this proposal, this ERC 721 proposal, they talk about Decentraland.
Yeah, CryptoPunks.
Right? And CryptoPunks, Engine Coin.
Yeah.
Like, these are the kind of like the leaders in like the metaverse and, PFP projects. Like, this is the genesis.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. And of course, one of the notable things here is that they've made updates to this pull request and all that. So it's kind of interesting to kind of look back at what has happened and what is happening, and then you start seeing, putting two and two together. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really cool to see and to be a part of, right?
Yeah.
To be able to participate in like these types of discussions where, there are different interpretations and methodologies that are being, spun up.
Yeah.
But eventually one of these things is going to achieve, overall consensus. And then, like from that, you can actually start to build, composability, stuff like that, where developers can build things that other developers can leverage. And then from that, you have a real ecosystem, right? A lot more potential. Yeah,
which brings me to the next one called .plot. And so here's their Twitter bio here. And if you click on docs.bitplots, it'll take you to their documentation. And it's pretty robust. It goes in depth. And what it is essentially, it's sort of like, they call it a game-like project. And think of it as a parallel project next to Bitmap. That is also associated with this BRC20 token called Plot.
Yeah.
And within this, there's mechanisms where you're able to inscribe more plot tokens based on the data of the block itself.
I see.
And so I thought this was pretty smart, leveraging the data on the individual blocks and kind of leveraging that data for other purposes.
Basically, like generating a token supply for a whole new token.
Yeah,
I see. So it's like injecting some kind of resource or commodity, right, into the existing, landscape of the metaverse.
Yeah, exactly. I like that term. Blocks like 9 and 78, mined by Satoshi and Hal Finney, carry historical significance in the Bitcoin community. But blocks can also be interesting for many other reasons. For instance, blocks mined during significant world or cultural events, personal life events, or any other noteworthy occurrence can add an extra layer of meaning and purpose to the plot tokens and the plot land associated with them. And they have a pretty interesting algorithm that allows you to generate these plot tokens based on the data of the blocks. And it looks like this. The number of plot tokens in the given, I think, transaction, or in the given district, is amount of transactions plus the amount of transacted BTC plus the amount of mined BTC times 21. And so ultimately, this ensures that each block can be associated with at least 1,000 plot tokens, but the exact number will vary depending on the block's characteristics. So for example, this block here, 795.801, has 1,800 transactions. Amounts mined is 6.25. Total transacted with 93. Gives you basically 40,000 plot tokens.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're introducing a mechanism to inject this plot token based on.
So do existing bitmap holders have like the claim to these things?
No.
It's like a whole separate.
It's a whole separate thing.
We're restarting all over again.
Yeah.
With like now it's like bitmaps, but with a token inside of it.
So we got comments on this because there's elements here that makes some sense, but then you inject this arbitrary 21 number, right? And I understand why the goal is to have like 1,000 plot tokens, because if you have anything less, it's like not as attractive to like the human eye and the human brain, right?
Okay.
So there's elements here that don't make sense because they're arbitrary, because you could just come up with different numbers, right?
Yeah, of course.
But leveraging data on the blocks is interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely like a whole new like market dynamic that's emerging. Obviously, like there's so much. Bitcoin is so, I guess blockchain in general is just so data rich. Yeah, there's just so much we could do with that. Yeah, like create whole new like verticals of value just by tapping into that. That way, these are all immutable records, right? So it's like,
why not leverage that, right?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and I think that summarizes it. They give examples of like JSON data of what this might look like, and everything is pretty fleshed out, and I think it's sort of interesting. Yeah. I guess the only thing is it's sort of like a side chain to Bitmap, but the main takeaway here is that there's thoughts and ideas here that could be leveraged in all kinds of ways on the Bitmap ecosystem.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, so now going back, let's give our opinion on what we think the standard is probably going to become.
Yeah, because as like I said, as elegant as this was put together, it definitely feels very specific and a little constrained. Yeah, it implements constraints which don't necessarily need to be there. It depends on your interpretation of what it is we should end up doing with the Bitmap ecosystem as a whole. Right? Yeah. We got roughly 16,000 people who have inscribed, these blocks. Yeah. So what do we want to do with all this ownership? Do we want to just turn everything into one like singular, like I said, where everybody's operating under the same like laws? Right.
Which I don't think we should.
Yeah, that's
right. Here's the thing, and here's why. It's not an arbitrary decision to say I don't think everyone should operate under the same laws like we do on Earth. Right. It's important to know that we cannot know what the best use case for the metaverse will be. Right. It would be like saying Twitter and Facebook and YouTube are the obvious use case for the internet in like the 1980s.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. And you wouldn't even be able to predict something like that early on. Yeah. And so we have to remain as open and as least restrictive as possible. And so an inscription process that would be leveraged by Bitmap would not look like this, because you have a name called Cool Project. Right. What if I sell you my parcel called Cool Project? You want to change it. You have to. You might have to reinscribe it, and like it loses its like provenance in like its existence in the blockchain, right? You don't want to do that. Small, like that's contextual. Projects might leverage a small parcel and like create a gigantic world out of it. Yeah. Like why call it small at that point?
Yeah. Or have like pre-existing limitations. Yeah. To these individual units, right? Yeah, like allow many interpretations, I guess, to be rendered instead of like enforcing one single one. Yeah,
yeah, and the ID here, that makes sense. Every block has transactions in a sequence, and so the sequence could be leveraged. That makes sense. And then the secret phrase here, when I was thinking about the standard that should be implemented, I was thinking about security as well, just like these guys are. Yeah. And they're saying pass a secret phrase through this algorithm and it'll generate basically this code after encoding and all that. But I was like, well, you could do that, or you could just use a private key of the owner of that district and sign a transaction. Yeah. Encode that signature into something smaller and then use the same thing. You don't have to pass like a passphrase. Right. Right. And then I was thinking like, what if that code is here, that means anybody can see this code, see this inscription, and just copy it and generate parcels based on that. And so I was like, well, how do you prevent that? Well, you can't. You have to leverage indexers. The indexers need to understand the standard, and they need to be able to index the right parcels, not the fake ones.
Yeah.
And so, like, this ends up being not necessary either. So this is why it's like important. If we leave it just basic and simple, like Blockamoto is suggesting in a lot of his tweets, it ends up being the better outcome.
Correct. Yeah, and Blockamoto did chime into a lot of these, like, new standards are being proposed, and basically saying, like, these are all really great ideas and probably like things that should be considered whenever, attempting to find that consensus around like a much more broader, much more inclusive, I guess, overall parcel standard, which he seems to be working on, diligently. And I think
he's doing it right. He's working with Track, a decentralized indexer.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. That's not a small feat, right? This is very complex. There are billions of dollars worth of value of decentralized indexer on Ethereum.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a big deal, and he needs to get it right. Right? But he doesn't need to get it right the first try, because, of course, he's going to create a GitHub, and he's going to allow people to chime in with their thoughts.
Yeah.
And then eventually just adopt the standard, and then off to the races.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, whatever. At the end of the day, it is like a free market. Even you don't have to necessarily abide by whatever it is.
Yeah, and
comes out of Bitoshi.
That's why I have this here, ERC 721. Exactly. Right? CryptoPunks existed before the standard. Right. Decentraland was waiting around until the standard to mint one of the first ERC 721s, the land.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So.
And then, if you are rolling out your own standards unique to your own project or ecosystem, you're in that same boat. You're waiting around for the consensus. If it's not under yours, it's fine.
Yeah,
you just kind of port it over, which CryptoPunks did. They eventually reminted under the correct standard once 721 rolled out. Yeah,
sure. And it's not to say that this project is doing anything wrong. You could actually mint this, right? Inscribe this for the few bucks or whatever it is. And these become sort of vouchers for when the standard does come out and say, hey guys, the standard's out. We minted them for you. You guys, because you paid, you get those inscriptions. Now you own it.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
And so there's nothing wrong here. It's just as far as the context of like the global standard, if you will, like this particularly doesn't make sense. So I think that really summarizes everything. So when is Blockamoto going to be ready to release like the standard and the GitHub and all that? I think it's really up to the indexers, because unfortunately we have to rely on them. Yeah. And so they have to be ready.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Yeah, this is going to be probably, I don't know, another one of these like longer form discussions that are going to have to continually be worked out. But that's the whole point. This is early days.
Yeah.
There's a very strong community here, so there's great potential in numbers, right? So a lot of different minds thinking about the same issues. We should be able to achieve a pretty solid, foundation.
Yeah.
With all these different people contributing to this consensus, right?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right, so shout out to Haste Arcade and BitPlot here. It's definitely interesting kind of read everything what everybody's working on. We just did an interview with IMSO Chris, should be released tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you guys for watching. And if you have any questions, concerns, let us know in the comment section below. We're always on Twitter. And follow us on Twitter at The Block Runner, at MetaZone.io, and at Roby AI, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.